Good evening and welcome. I'm Chris Parnell.
Reporting from Moscow.
Tbilisi,
Times Square.
May your dreams be your only boundaries in life.
Welcome to a brand new season of Inspiring Leaders. I am your host, Donna Chandler-Newman, Executive Director of Leadership Germantown. During each show, we will meet community leaders and examine how they're using their unique talents and skill sets to make a difference. We hope through our discussions to inspire others to discover and to share their own leadership abilities for the overall betterment of our community. The issue of literacy in our community rarely makes front-page news. The problem is often quietly acknowledged, and we know that improving our literacy rate is crucial to our area's well-being. Today, we're privileged to meet an organization who's addressing literacy in our community, and then they're taking it about 10 steps further with their goal of lifelong learning for our citizens. In this first portion of our show, we meet Kevin Dean, Executive Director of Literacy Mid-South. And in our second segment, Kevin and I will be joined by Courtney Miller-Santo, a noted author and a member of the Advisory Board of Literacy Mid-South. And in the last segment, we'll shift gears a bit and get an update on Leadership Germantown from Moya Dent, Chairman of their Board of Directors. Joining us now is Kevin Dean, Executive Director of Literacy Mid-South. Welcome, Kevin.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad that you're here today. Well, now, Kevin, you have quite a background. Tell us a little bit about your background and tell us how you became involved with Literacy Mid-South.
Well, I graduated with a film degree from University of Memphis, and I had lifelong dreams of going to Hollywood, and had a casting job there in LA. Didn't work out so great for me, so I came back home with my tail between my legs, and didn't know what I wanted to do right after college, and heard about this thing called AmeriCorps Vista, which is it's a stipended volunteer that you're put in a nonprofit organization. So there was an organization called Volunteer Memphis. It's now called Volunteer Mid-South, and I started as a Vista there for 2 years, and then worked my way up within that organization and became the community services manager. So I worked with a whole bunch of different nonprofits. During that time, I got to know an organization called Memphis Literacy Council, which is now called Literacy Mid-South. So after Volunteer Memphis, I went to Hope House for 3 years and was their director of development, and we work with children and families affected by HIV and AIDS. And then when this job came open, I had about 5 emails all at once saying, apply for this. And so I applied. I knew the organization really well. I knew what they were doing. I knew what they had the potential to do, and I wanted to be a part of it. So
I think it's quite a rebound, isn't it? I think that they're very grateful to have you, if I understand correctly.
Well, I'm glad to be there. It's a lot of fun.
Well, now, Literacy Mid-South itself is only, what, 3 years old?
4 years old.
4 years old. So tell me, it was born of 2 organizations. How did that happen?
It was. Well, Memphis Literacy Council was really focused on teaching adults to read. We have 120,000 adults in the Mid-South, or I'm sorry, in Shelby County who read below a 3rd grade level, which is pretty shocking. I'm still shocked by that, and I've been here a while.
Too.
And the Mid-South Reads was they had a broader mission of making everybody in the community a lifelong learner. So you're not just going through school and then you stop learning. You spend the rest of your life learning forever about anything, everything, the world. So those 2 organizations, they were kind of at a crossroads, and they came together, I guess January 1st, 2010, and became Literacy Mid-South, and with that broader vision of really making everybody in Memphis, making Memphis and the Mid-South a learning community.
Well, that's wonderful. I mean, that's quite an ambitious goal, too, by the way, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what is actually the stated mission right now of Literacy Mid-South?
Our mission is to create a community actively engaged in continuous learning. So we want a community that's actively engaged, so that they're taking the initiative to be lifelong learners. They're constantly learning. We're constantly growing as a community, and that the rewards, you reap those over and over again. The more you have a community that's well educated, that's wanting to learn, that understands the world, it's a great thing.
And so where do most of your students, your learners, where do they come from?
Our adult students, they come from referrals from other agencies. You have to be at a 6th to 8th grade level to get into a GED program. There's a lot of federal funding right now for GED programs, but not so much for people who read below a 6th grade level. So we get a lot of referrals for organizations that they can't help those people, so they have to send people our way. So we're glad to take them. And then we get them from doctors. We get them just off the street. Sometimes people come in and say, "Hey, I need help," and get lots of referrals from churches. It's a lot of word of mouth.
So that's called the Adult Reading Program,
The Adult
right?
Learning Program,
The
yeah.
Adult Learning Program. So how many people do you work with at a time?
We have about 500 learners. These are adults reading below a 6th grade level, but they're 18 and over. Most of they range in age from 18 to 80. They run the gamut, and we have 250 volunteers that work with those adults to teach them to read. So we actually have a training program where we train volunteers to go into the libraries to teach them.
Oh my gracious! So if
Yeah.
you have 120,000 and you're only able to handle 500 at a time, you do need to train the trainer.
Absolutely, and that was where we were struggling for a long time. We were never going to be able to, because of financial reasons, because we will never have 120,000 volunteers.
Right.
We had to figure out some new ways to try to address this problem.
Okay, and is that program called?
So a year and a half ago we launched Read Memphis, which is an outgrowth of the Adult Learning Program, and that program it teaches other organizations how to do basically what we do. There's a lot of pockets in Memphis we're just never going to be able to touch, and so and with our limited resources, we wouldn't be able to touch them anyway. So we teach organizations. Friends for Life is one. Memphis Teen Challenge. All these different organizations come together, and they have their own program, just like ours. And so eventually, we want to put ourselves out of business and have this exist in organizations that already exist. So I don't want to work at Literacy Mid-South forever. I want to accomplish something so that we can start really taking care of the problem, because this problem is only growing.
That's really true, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. And how does that impact our community, though?
Well, if you can't read, it's going to be really hard for you to walk into Home Depot or Target and fill out a job application online. You know, it's going to be really hard for you to read your forms for your kid's school. It's going to be nearly impossible for you to go to college. You can graduate and not necessarily get a diploma. They have a specialized diploma that doesn't really do anything if you don't have your GED or an actual high school diploma. So it makes getting a job really hard. It makes taking your medications. We've had people that have overdosed on medication. We had one man who couldn't read the medication for his child, and his child ended up in the hospital because he had given too much medication because he just couldn't read it. And even for seniors, getting Medicare, trying to figure out those forms are nearly impossible for anybody, but let alone somebody who's reading on a 2nd grade level. So
we take a lot for granted. I'm sitting here thinking about the whole literacy thing. I never ever thought about how easy it is for me to read, but if you can't read, the barriers that are involved and the impact on our community.
It's kind of like going to a foreign country and trying to figure out French and not knowing French, and trying to figure out how to navigate that world without being able to read street signs or being able to do anything, read instructions. It's a hard, but somehow they manage to survive. But we want to help them make their lives better.
My gracious. Well, that's an amazing impact all the way around, isn't it?
It is.
Well, I can't even imagine. I'm thinking about the community itself, and I imagine you have the support of our mayors and politicians in the community.
Actually, Mayor Wharton was on the Memphis Literacy Council board for several years. So.
Oh, bless his heart. Well, we're about to meet another member of your board, or your advisory board, in a moment. So let's stay right with me, if you will.
I will.
All right. Good. We're going to pause now for a short break, and when we return, we'll be joined by Courtney Miller-Santo, noted author, and with the Advisory Board of Literacy Mid-South.
You can now watch your favorite Germantown community television shows from anywhere in the world. GHS-TV is streaming online, live 24/7. A viewing screen displays our channel just like you see on television. Simply visit our website at www.ghstv.org. So log on and enjoy hometown news from anywhere in the world, only at ghstv.org.
Would it be okay if I sat here?
Is she serious? Whatever. New girl.
Reaching out. Pass it on. A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Welcome back. We're pleased to continue our conversation with Kevin Dean, Executive Director of Literacy Mid-South, and to be joined by Courtney Miller-Santo, author and on the Advisory Board of Literacy Mid-South. Welcome, Courtney, and welcome back, Kevin.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you both with us today. Now, Courtney, we're glad you joined us. I know that you're a noted author and you're on the Advisory Board. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and also tell us how you got involved with Literacy Mid-South.
Absolutely. So I'm very fortunate to be doing the thing I wanted to do most in the world, which is to write books. I pinch myself every day about it. And I have 2 books out now, Roots of the Olive Tree and 3-Story House, which came out in August. And as part of the campaign for Roots of the Olive Tree, I was asked to speak at an event, and the proceeds of the nonprofit event were in fact going to Literacy Mid-South, which was my first introduction to them as an organization in Memphis. And speaking at that event and looking into, well, what's this money going to benefit? Is it going to be for something good, or is it going to be for somebody that doesn't need any money? I really began to understand how needed an organization like Literacy Mid-South is in Memphis. And it's one of those things that's so easy to overlook because you can't tell from looking at somebody what their reading level is. And I feel like, Kevin's talked a little bit about how important reading is in our daily lives. And it's important to me because it defines like who I am and what I love. And I thought there could be no better organization to support than one that helps people discover that reading is not only practical, because it helps you read applications and it helps you fill out paperwork, but it's also something that brings joy into people's lives. And so I know that with many of the campaigns that they've been doing, the book festival and the reading campaign where they're choosing a specific book, I've seen people get joy out of reading, and that's really important to me and who I am as a person, Well,
let's talk about the reading campaign. We didn't talk about that a minute ago. I know the reading campaign is a real piece of the core of what you all do. Talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So the first year we did our reading campaign, we did just a Twitter campaign. So I had to learn what Twitter was because I didn't know what Twitter was. And so we had a Twitter campaign, #ReadMemphis, and we asked people to tell what books they were reading. And so we had people tweeting. We had 2,500 people tweet within that first month, just about what they were reading. We had people responding to each other, about what they were reading, and I love that book. Oh, if you like that book, try this book. We had famous people. Anne Rice tweeted us. We had Pauly Shore from the from the 90s. He tweeted us. Will Wheaton tweeted us from Star Trek. So we had all these people tweeting about their books. Kathy Bates tweeted us. She's a Memphian. So anyway, the second year we decided to pick a book and have a shared reading experience among the community. So we bought several thousand books, gave them to some of the schools in the lower income areas that maybe wouldn't have the opportunity to read that book, and then we sent everybody else to booksellers at Laurelwood to buy the book. It was called Wonder, and actually I found out the other day we helped put Wonder on the bestseller list.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so we bought a ton of books. I think just our order alone probably put them on the bestseller list, but several thousand books. So this year, 2014, we had Barry Wolverton, who's a friend of Courtney's and also an author. He was a Memphian, published his book Never Sink. And then we're already working on 2014. We already have our 2 books. I can't announce them yet, but they're going to be really good. And we're working. One of them is, but actually both of them are best-selling authors, and we're trying to get both of them in town for 2015, which will be exciting.
Is this in conjunction with Read Across America?
Yes.
It is.
Well, it started Read Across. We call it Read Across America Month because it started out with a day of Read Across America, and we've now just made it into a whole month of activities. We do a reading flash mob, and we do school visits with authors and all kinds of great stuff.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, I've got to tell you, though, the biggest event, the one that I'm most amazed at is the book festival that's coming now, right?
Yes.
Tell us about the book festival.
So I am over the moon that Kevin and his organization went ahead and bit the bullet and put together an entire weekend of events that are centered around reading and centered around books. And every other major city in America has a book festival, and we didn't. And it was so frustrating to me as an author not to have a book festival in my hometown, adopted hometown. I've been here long enough, I've adopted it. And so when he started to talk to me about this idea, I just was like, anything you need, whatever you need, I want to help you out any way I can. And the first day we talked, he was like, well, I'm thinking a day, like it'll be just a day. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And I gave him a couple of ideas from book festivals I had been at. And then I swear maybe a month later he calls me up. He's like, okay, it's a whole weekend. And we sold out the whole entire venue. And we've got, you know, 1 million wonderful people coming. I know David Wallace is coming, who wrote Big Fish. And it's just, I got to see Big Fish on Broadway. They just did a musical of it, and this is one of my favorite movies and one of my favorite books, and I recommend this to my students all the time. So I'm really excited about some of the authors that are going to be able to come. I'm also super excited about Foodie Sunday, which is Sunday's events are all food and cookbook based, and it's one thing I know about the Mid-South is that we love food.
We do indeed. So, okay, so there are 30 authors that are all coming, right?
50.
50?
Yeah, we have 50 authors.
Oh, my gracious.
We announced 3 more this week, so yeah, it just keeps getting bigger.
Amazing.
What are the dates?
It's September 25th through the 28th, and they're at a ton of different locations. If you go to our website, midsouthbookfest.org, there's a whole listing of all the authors. And Courtney is one of our celebrity authors that will be there. She'll be doing a Q&A about her new book as well. So we'll have lots of local authors, and then we'll have authors from nationally that we'll be coming into.
Now, is there admission?
Free. Everything's free.
Everything's free. So basically, if I go this weekend, the September 25th to
the 28th.
28th, it's a Thursday night. So a Thursday night, there's what?
There's Making Memphis. It's a panel discussion about Memphis authors.
Okay, Friday
night. We just announced it. I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's going to be at Story Booth at Crosstown Arts, and it's going to incorporate art and literature together.
Saturday's the big day.
Saturday's the big day.
Lots of panels.
And 6 locations? How many locations?
6 locations. Yep.
My gracious, with one of them being?
One of them being the Botanic Garden, the entire Botanic Garden.
The whole thing?
Well, the whole building, and then outside the building as well. So.
Oh my goodness gracious! You know what's amazing is this is your first one.
It is. It was supposed to be small.
I cannot wait to see I can't wait to be there. I invite everybody else to come from our viewers, and I can't wait to see what you do next year too. Thank you both so much for being here, and thanks for all that you do for literacy in Memphis and the Mid-South area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
We're going to take a break now, so be sure to stay with us because when we return, we'll be talking with Moya Dent about the latest news on Leadership Germantown.
You've watched it over the span of 3 decades. We've dedicated ourselves to making it a fantastic community show, and the Alliance for Community Media has named GHS-TV's Crosstalk the best informational program in the country. From coverage of important area issues and events to conversations with high-profile local, national, and international personalities, Crosstalk keeps you informed and entertained. Don't miss Crosstalk, produced entirely by the students of Germantown High School. The news show airs each week only on Germantown Community Television, cable channel 17.
Wow. College already?
Yeah. We gotta go.
I love you.
I love you too, Daddy. And thanks for everything.
Gratitude. Pass it on. A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
I am Donna Chandler-Newman, your host, and you're watching Inspiring Leaders. Leadership Germantown is a nonprofit organization which exists to help cultivate leaders to step up and make our community even better. And that's really the mission of our organization, Leadership Germantown, to build a better community, one leader at a time. Joining us now is Leadership Germantown's Chairman of the Board of Directors, Moya Dent. Welcome, Moya.
Hi, thank you.
I'm glad to see you in this new season of Inspiring Leaders.
Me too. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's September. Okay, some people may think we're quiet right now because we don't have a class in session, if you will, but things are going on under the scenes or behind the scenes. What's going on?
Absolutely. Well, we're recruiting for our, next year's class. So we are getting our application ready and out there promoting the program and waiting for new wonderful candidates to come along for next year's class.
My goodness gracious. Okay, so tell me, who's the ideal candidate?
Well, our typical candidate, I always say, is they're already leaders, but they just want to be better leaders. So anyone who is interested in the community and wants to give back, not just by joining this program. Our program is more of a way to plug in. So we orient and engage and tell them what's out there and show them how to do it well.
You know, the youngest person that I remember being in Leadership Germantown was 22, and the oldest, I believe, is 72. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
So, I mean, there's not an age limit on it at all.
Absolutely not.
Right?
All ages, all professions.
Everything.
Everything.
And
yes.
we welcome them and we look to build it. Now, it's a very, very strict selective process, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. So
It
tell
is.
me how that works.
Well, we have a redacted application, so it's completely anonymous, and we just look for their contributions to the community so far, but also what their plans are and their wishes are for the community in the future. How do they plan to give back, or what are their desires to give back?
And the selection committee looks at it. Unfortunately, we cannot accept everyone. And
Right.
so we do have some that come back and reapply, and then
Yes,
we're finally
yes.
able to have them, we're thrilled.
Right, exactly. We're, I always tell people not to be offended if they don't get in this year, because it is a competitive process, and some years it's just very, very tight, and we turn lots of people away, unfortunately. We wish we could take everybody, but we're limited to about a size of 20 to 22 people.
Which, by the way, means that when you do get in, the caliber of people you're with is extraordinary.
Absolutely.
That's true. So talk about the experience itself. What's the very first thing that they do?
Well, the first thing they do is meet their classmates, but that is a short event. It's a nice event, but it's just a get-to-know-you session. But the biggest thing that they do in the beginning is go to Team Trek in Arkansas. It's a 2-day retreat, and they really get to know each other at that point, and that's where they learn their true leadership skills. In fact, I've had people say that if Leadership Germantown ended at Team Trek, they would be still happy that they did it, and they would think that it was worth every penny.
My goodness gracious. So speaking of every penny, by the way, what is the tuition?
$850.
$850 and a $50 application fee, right?
Yes.
Okay, non-refundable.
Correct.
So, okay, so that's the tuition for it. We start in January each year?
Yes, the beginning.
And end in?
In June, the end of June. So usually the first week of January through the last week of June.
Okay. Now, most of the sessions are not short, or are they 2-day weekends? What are most of the sessions?
Most sessions are 1 day, and we do ask for a commitment of that 1 day, to be present for that 1 day, because like I said, we have turned people away. And we've also asked people who are putting on the sessions and the guest speakers, et cetera, in our sessions to take time out of their day. So attendance is important. But that's all we ask. To be there, to be present, and then you can go back to work the next day.
Yeah,
we don't give you homework, in other words.
So to be fully engaged during that. What kinds of sessions are they taking?
We have 10 sessions altogether. We have County Government Day, where we spend a day meeting county government officials. We have a Public Safety Day, where we meet the police and firemen, and they're all very interactive. So, for instance, with police and firemen, we spend half a day shooting the guns, meeting the drug dogs, and then we spend half a day fighting fires and dragging dead bodies out of buildings. Fake dead bodies.
Fake dead bodies, okay.
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right, and then there's also an Education Day.
Yes, Education Day. Oh my goodness, it's always very hard for me to list them.
Quality of Life.
Quality of Life, where we look at all the wonderful things that Germantown has to offer. What am I leaving out?
Well,
State Government Day. We spend a day in Nashville meeting our elected officials at a state level. We meet the governor. We meet some of the appointed positions as well.
Mm-hmm. So of the 10 sessions that we go to, we culminate with a hands-on leadership day where you tell people where to plug in, where they can get involved, right?
Correct.
What do most people say that the whole Leadership Germantown experience means to them?
Well, everyone is extremely thankful, and like I said, they learn how to be a good leader through Team Trek and some of those exercises, and we do some more of that at hands-on. But the rest of it is just exposure, and they're so thankful at the end to say, oh my goodness, I'm so glad you showed me that this was out there. And usually in every session, something speaks to someone, and they then go on to be a part of another organization and become a leader in that organization. The best example that I love to give is Tony Salvaggio, who was in my class. Mm-hmm. We went to the juvenile court, and now he's on the panel to decide when children get to go back to their families or not.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's an amazing story, and we appreciate that, and we appreciate Leadership Germantown. So thank you, Moya, for all you do.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
And thank you for being with us today for Inspiring Leaders. We appreciate our guests on today's show, Kevin Dean and Courtney Miller-Santo of Literacy Mid-South, and Moya Dent of Leadership Germantown. If you'd like further information on our Leadership Germantown program, please call us or visit our website, leadershipgermantown.org. If you're interested in the air dates of Inspiring Leaders or of any other shows on GHS-TV, you can visit GHS-TV.org, where we're also streaming live 24 hours a day. You can keep up with GHS-TV by visiting our website. We hope you'll like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Thank you again for joining us, and be sure to watch Inspiring Leaders again next month.